Corruptus Samich Aleph on the base. We're in the sugya of what of avodah zara, and particularly if you serve meir ma'ava. So I would go up about 15 lines in the bottom. Itmar on Samich Aleph on the base. Itmar. Rashi says from loving a person or fearing a person, but you're not going ahead and considering it as a deity in your heart. So again, you do an action of avodah zara, but again, you're not going ahead in your heart. Not Abaye Amachayiv, you be chayiv, and Rava Amapata. Rava says you be pata. Abaye Amachayiv. The Hapolcha, bottom line is you did serve avodah zara, and Rava Amapata, Ikibel Olei Belokai in Iloi Loi. Only if you makabel what is as the God. But if you're not makabel as the God, then not. So now we're going to go ahead and bring rayas to Abaya. Simin Eved Yishtachve LeMashiach. Ba'amar Abaya. Mino Aminallah. How do I know you're chayiv? How do you know if you avodah zara me'yera u'me'ava? How do I know if you serve avodah zara me'yera u'me'ava? How do you know that you're chayiv? None. What does our Mishnah say, fellas? Okay, our Mishnah said, anyone who serves avodah zara, echad ha'oived, whether you serve it, the echad ha'mezabeach, one who brings the karbanos to it, the echad ha'maktir, who brings kataris to it, the echad ha'menasech. So what does the word oved mean? In other words, so we saw it meant oved what afilu shaloi kedarka, right? We said afilu shaloi kedarka. That's the way Rav Yirmiyah explained it. Was it Rav Yirmiyah? Yeah, that's what Rav Yirmiyah said. That no, oved is kedarka, not shaloi kedarka. Oved means kedarka. Okay, so back by us that nan ha'oved oved is kechavim echad ha'oved. My love, that ambiguous term oved is echad ha'oved me'avu me'yera. Whether you serve it me'ava me'yera or makder or menasech, v'rava amalach like kidimitarz of Yirmiyah, like Rav Yirmiyah said, oiv means kedarka. So in other words, there's no raya that if you serve me'ava me'yera chayiv, it would be what even if you not. Amar Abaya, mino amin Allah. How do I know that you're chayiv? The Tanya, it says le'sishtachve lehem, and we make a diak lehem yat mishtachve. You can't bow down to the idol. Avlat mishtachve le'adam. You could go ahead. Well, if you have a person who, if they kvaida or yera, you're able to bow down to that person. You're able to bow down to that person. Als cover to give cover to the individual. Yachal afilu nevad kahaman. I might think even the person that served like Haman. Tamad leimav leis avdei. Ivaha Haman meyira have nevad. Haman, they served him meyira. So you see that what meyira you're not able to go ahead and serve. That's the diak. Says the Gemara, no. Varava says kill Haman v'like Haman. Haman the iu gufa avodas kechavim. He himself was an avodah zara. He made himself to an avodah zara. He wasn't a man. V'like Haman the ilu Haman meyira v'hachalav meyira. How do I know that meyira yechayev me'ava yer? None. Okay. In the parsha of Kabbanis, fellas, in the parsha of Kabbanis, usually a regular guy who's oived, who chayve koris, right? Chayve koris. The shoge is going to bring a chatas. What is he going to bring? He's going to bring either a kispa or a seira. He's going to bring a female goat or a female sheep. That's the norm. That's the norm. We know there's a parsha in Vayikra Dalid, the Kohen Mashiach, and or Par Helam Dava, where they're going to bring a par. They're going to bring if they go ahead and give a psak halacha in a chi of koris and people act upon it, if the Kohen act upon it, or if the Klal Yisrael act upon it by Helam Dava, you're going to bring a par. You're going to bring a par. A nasi is going to bring a seir. Again, a regular aveira. He's going to bring a seir, a male goat. A male goat. What about avodah zara? Avodah zara. Then whether you are the Kohen Mashiach, whether you are the Yachid, whether you are the Nasi, you're going to bring a seira. You're going to bring a seira. So in other words, when it comes to avodah zara, then it's all the same, with the exception might have if the tzibah does avodah zara. But an individual, whether it's a Bezdin, Yachid, or Kohen Mashiach, there's Nasi, not Palan Dava. The Kohen Mashiach, Yachid Nasi, is going to bring a seira. Okay, now. So the Tanya. Again, we want to bring a raya that if you serve meyira, that you chayev a carbon. Says the Gemara. The Tanya. Kohen Mashiach by avodas kechavim. A Kohen Mashiach by avodas zara. So the Kohen went ahead and he matted to do avodas zara b'shageg. Rabbi Omer b'shigris ma'isa how he's over b'shigris ma'isa, right? Without Helam Dover, as we're gonna see in a second, without in action, the Chachamim beHelam Dover, and the Chacham say what, that it was hidden from him. It was hidden from him. Vishavim shebeseira kiyachid, and in other words, the way they're over it, that's the machloikis. Whether it's shigris ma'isa, we'll see what that is in a second, or whether it's Helam Dover. However, the carbon they bring, Vishavim shebeseira kiyachid, that they're going to bring a female carbon like an individual. They're going to bring a female carbon like an individual. Now, Hekidami, what is the case of Shiggus Maisa? What's the case of Shiggus Maisa? Ik Sava Besa Knesses, who, if he thinks that he's bowing down to a base Knesses, Vishtach Valoi, Hari Liba L'Shemayim, then he's thinking, what is Lev is the Shemayim? 2 lines from the bottom back. Liba the Shemayim, right? His Lev is the Shemayim. And therefore, what? It's not an avodah zarah. Ela de chaza da andarta. He saw an andarta. Usually, they put a andarta as an image of a king. They made like Nebuchadnezzar made Michal B'Shal by Zariah. They asked the question. They didn't have to go ahead and kill themselves because it wasn't avodah zarah. So ela chaza de andarta v'shtach v'loy ikibela belakai. If they makabel is olakus mezidu, then he's a mezid. He's not a shayge. He doesn't make a carbon at all. The eloy kibela love belakai like love klumu. And if he didn't accept it as a god, then he didn't do anything. So what's the case of Shiggus Maisa? Elalav may avo meyira. The case of Shiggus Maisa is what? May avo meyira. And nonetheless, you see, you chayiv to bring a carbon, you chayiv to bring a seira, a raya to a baya. The Rabbi Amalach, Rabbi will tell you no. Loi ba'oima mutta. It's speaking where he thought it was mutta to avodah zara, right? Oima mutta. So oima mutta. Now, Shiggus Maisa means where you know it's asa, fellas, and you made a mistake in the action. Good. Helam Dover is you don't know it's asa at all. Fred the Gemara, if it's speaking oimem mutter, where you thought that when you served the avodah zarah, you didn't realize it. So why do you call it shiggus ma'isa? That's helam dava. That if it's oimem mutter, you think it's mutter. That means the matter helam was hidden from you. It's not shiggus ma'isa. Shiggus ma'isa, you know there's such a thing as avodah zarah, and in action you made a mistake. This is not making a mistake. Helam dava. I didn't oimem mutter. I think it's mutter. That's helam dava. It's not shiggus ma'isa, right? Says the Gemara. Now there's a difference between helam dava and shiggus ma'isa. Helam Dava, I'm a mutta lagamri. Helam Dava is where you thought it was completely mutta. But let me read this correctly. I'm a mutta hainu Helam Dava, but I'm a mutta lagamri. Helam Dava kiyam miktsas ubitul miktsas. I'm a mutta is he thought it was mutta completely. Helam Dava means, you know why I'm a mutta is not Helam Dava? Because you makayim miktsas, part of it, and what? And the other part you're not. Says Rashi, where it gets thin. Hainu helam dava ubahara filu rabbanan moida the rabbanan moida umeshani oima mutta de kamina hainu de akala legamri. Completely, you didn't realize it all. Helam dava is kiyam mixes a bitul mikas kagain yesha vayis kechavim b'tayra shaloi lizbayach ushloi lekater aval mishtach v'mutta. He knows there's something as avodah zarah that you can't bow down, you can't go ahead and shech to it, and you can't go ahead and burn ketayras to it. But he makes a mistake thinking that you could bow down to it. He thought that's mutta. That's helam davar. That's helam davar. But oimem mutta is completely, you don't know there's avodah zarah at all. Okay, now the next part, guys, is difficult. Halkap. I'll give you as much information as possible. We know by Hilchos Shabbos there's a very unique din. There's a din that you can go ahead and be mechal Shabbos, do a bunch of averis and only bring one chatas. And we know by Shabbos it's possible to go ahead and be mechal Shabbos and bring a bunch of different averis, right? Okay, so again, so what do it's called helam davar. In other words, you know there's such a thing as Shabbos, you know there's such a thing as Shabbos, so you're a zodim bin Shabbos, and you go ahead and you make a mistake in what? You make a mistake in various, you do various things. Right? Then there is, I'm shoygeg Shabbos, I didn't know what Shabbos at all. And then you go and do a bunch of things. Okay? Those are two possibilities. But and we're going to have a pasuk for it. And the shayla is by avodah zarah. What happens if you go ahead and you serve avodah zarah? You do zevach to avodah zarah. In other words, there's a lav in Shabbos, correct? There's a lav. It's a Shabbos, and then there's different avodas. There's a lav of avodah zara, and then there's different avodas. Do the same guidelines apply by avodah zara as it does by Shabbos? So says the Gemara, Tani Rab, Tani Rab, what's his name? Zakai. Tani Rab Zakai kamed Reb Yochanan. Rab Zakai said this following din in front of Reb Yochanan. Right? What did he say? He said, Ziveach, if you go ahead and bring a carbon to avodah zara, Vikiter, or you go ahead and you burn incense to an avodah zara, V'nisech, or you libate to avodah zara, V'ishtacheveh. So you do 4 different types of things. Behelam echad, and you make one mistake. You're when helam echad, it's in one action of not realizing it's avodah zara. Ein chayiv ela achas, you're only going to be chayiv once. So that's the same thing as Hilchos Shabbos, where helam echad, right? And one halama, and you do a bunch of different things to be chayiv once. So Amalei, so said Rabbi Yochanan, poik tani libra, take this brisa and take it out of the base medrash. Meaning he totally disagrees. He says you're going to be chayiv each and every one. Right? Yeah. Right, there you go. So he goes, go take it out. Go take it outside. This is not going to wash. We're not going to accept this in base medrash. So again, if you do in one halama a bunch of avodah zara, you only be chayiv once. He says no. Rabbi Yochanan says take it out of the base medrash. Okay, now the Gemara is going to try to figure out why. The Gemara is going to try to figure out exactly why is that. Okay. Amar of Abba, Had Amar Rab Zakai. That the Rab Zakai said you only chayiv once is a machloikis Rab Yossi v'Rab Nasan. Titanya, Havara l'lav yotza. Now it says by Shabbos kol malacha loisasu, and it says loisivaru eish b'chol mosh v'seichem. Guys, once you say kol malacha loisasu, you shouldn't do any malacha. Why is it necessary to say? Why do you take out of the rule and say loisivaru eish b'chol mosh v'seichem? Why did Havara come out of the rule? Kol malacha means all malacha. So why are you taking it out? So we've had this multiple times. Okay? So Rabbi Lilav Yotza, Div Rabbi Yossi. Says Rabbi Yossi, you know what? The reason why I took Havara out, because you're not Chayiv Skila. You won't be Chayiv Skila. If you had Eidim and Asra on fire, you'd be over get Malchus. It's a lav. That's why it's taken out of the rule. Kol Malacha, you die for. Leisavaru Eish, you don't die for. So Lilav Yotza comes out of the rule for a lav, good. Reb Nasan says, L'chalik Yotza. It comes to be Mechalik. What does Mechalik mean? That if you're over on what? Each one individually, then you're going to go away about, you're going to be chayiv. Now, Lemanda Ama Havara, L'lav Yotza, Hishtachva Nami, L'lav Yotza. Then Hishtachva also is taken out of, again, we have a separate pasuk we saw the other day, but for Hishtachva, right? The pasuk for Avodah Zarah, Zavech Zavech Elolakim, and then we had a pasuk that says, correct? So we saw a separate pasuk. So just like Havar is taking out the rule of Shabbos, so too Ishtachava is taking out the rule of Avodah Zarah. So we want to suggest perhaps that the same guideline that would be by Shabbos would exist by Avodah Zarah. Therefore, Lamanda Amma Havara Lechalek Yotza. Lamanda Amma says Havara is to divide up that you chayv each and every one. Hishtachva Nami Lechalek Yotza. So what is Rav Abba coming to do? He's coming to try and go ahead and figure out, right, to find face that Reb Zakai, who said that you chayiv on each and every one, you only chayiv once. He wants to say, we're going to see that he wants to say that it's going to be the same. Let's see what that means. Says Rashi, Ishtachva nami lulav yatsa. The Kamon Omar Shloisha Ishtachvais Nemru B'Hazhara Avodas Chav. There's 3 Ishtachvais. Achas l'Shloi Kedarkon, l'Chedamoron l'El, Azhara Minayin, Tamaloim Lois Ishtachve, V'Achas l'Chedarka, V'Achas l'Chalik. Ma Ishtachvais Miyuchedes, Ma'isel Atzma, V'Chayv Lo B'Atzma, Av Kol Avodas V'Avodah B'Shogeg Chayv Lo Chates L'Atzma. V'Toner the Rab Zakai, Sphira like Rabbi Yossi. The Tana Rabbi Zakkai that said you're only chayiv once, he holds like Rabbi Yossi that it's lelav yatsa. Tahu ishtachava yisera lav lechalik yatsa. It doesn't count to machalik. Elolalamed aleha sheyi belav v'lei bekaris. Okay, fellas, guys, look at me. It's not easy Gemara. The Gemara wants to say the following: when you say Rabbi Yossi says Havara teaches me lav, right? So his shtachava also teaches me lav. So if Rav Zakkai holds like that, you don't have a manda amal lachalik. You don't have a manda amal lachalik, and therefore you chayiv only once. However, continues Rashi, the ein chatas al shiga gasa. There's no chatas in the shtachava. The alpha pisha chayiv misa, even though you're going to die. This is very unique, guys. It's a lav, but it's misa. The hagabi skila ksiv, it's bishtachvu lehem. By skila, it says you're going to bow down. So when it says lilav by hishtachve fellas, it doesn't mean malchus. It means that what? I don't have a source to be machalik. If I don't have a source to be machalik, then Rav Zakkai is correct in saying you'd only be chayiv once. That's what he wants to say. Okay, so that's what the Gemara wants to suggest. That Rav Abba is coming to say he wants to go ahead and put Rav Zakkai's Torah back in the base medrash. That if Rav Zakkai holds like Rav Yossi that it's lelav yaitza and vishtachava, so it's the same thing what as Shabbos, and therefore you won't be machalik and you be chayiv only once. As I read the Gemara. So Maskav lo Rabbi Yosef Dilma Adkan like Kamar Rabbi Yossi Hasam Havar lelav yatza did nafkalo chilik milachos me'ach. Okay, in other words, because he has another source. Okay, guys, outside. Give me good. Give me Gemara outside. Fellas, watch. Look. If the source is like Sevaru Eish B'chol Moshe V'Seichem, then I have a exact parallel to Hishtachave. Both are taken out of the rule. So if that's where I learn out the lav from, then I could say the same thing. That by Avodah Zarah, it's also a lav. And I don't have a pasuk to be mechalik. What happens if by Shabbos I have a special pasuk to teach me that what? Yechayev for each and every one. Meaning, even if you hold lilav yatza, you still can hold that you be chayev on each and every one. Again, fellas, there's two different parshas. There is the parsha of Havara, and then there's Zayreya, Toichin, Koitzer, all those. I can hold that what? You'll be chayev malchus for burning, but be mechayev me if I do each and every one of them. I just need a source for it. Now, if I have a source for that, but I don't have a source for Avodah Zarah, then Rabbi Yochanan is correct in throwing out the Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, one more time. I'll do it 10 more times. I'm lying. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. If you don't understand it, 10 times not going to help.
Press rewind.
Press rewind. Okay, guys, watch. Beautiful. Watch. Here's the setup. We know by Shabbos it's possible that you'll be chayiv each and every one. The assumption is that is that assumption is that's the man the Amma who argues with Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi says why is Leis Savaru taken out of the rule lilav yaitza? So if it's taken out of the lilav yaitza, I don't have it in machalik. What's the machalik? Just like Havara is separate alone, you're over on that alone. So too you'll be over on each one of the others alone. So if I'm using it for a lav, I don't have a source what for machalik. Good. That's Shabbos. If I don't have it for a lav, guys, if I have it for a lav, I don't have it in machalik. What happens? So now comes along Rav Abba, and he wants to say the same thing about Avodah Zarah. By Shabbos it's Havara, by Avodah Zarah it's Ishtachave, it's bowing down. Meaning, just like there's a rule of Avodah Zarah, Ishtachave is separate. So if I use Ishtachave for a lav, I don't have to machalik. And that's Rabbi Zakkai. Says Rabbi Zakkai, if you do bump, you only chayiv once. So Rav Abba wants to save face. Says the Gemara now, 1 second. By Shabbos, just because you hold Avaras Lalav, you can still hold that what? You be chayiv on each and every one. And we don't have that by Avodah Zarah. If we don't have it by Avodah Zarah, then how can Rav Zakkai say you only chayiv once? Now, where do we know by Shabbos that even you hold Havara is Lalav? That's the next thing we're trying to do. That's the next thing we're trying to do. So now, in the parsha of Karbanos, In the parsha of Chatas and different karbanos, we're told the following: Dabe el bnei Yisrael lemar nefesh kisechta, a nefesh that sins bishgaga mikol mitzvos Hashem lo sasena v'asa me'achas me'hena, and he does me'achas from one of them, me'hena from a lot. Good. I'm going to show from there that you chayv in each and every one. Guys, there are three extra things over here. Mei achas, mei hena. Mem is always miktsas, part of. I got two extra mems. In addition to two extra mems, I got an extra word. Either say achas or say hena. So I have three limudim. I have three limudim by Shabbos. And what's the Gemara going to say? If I have those by Shabbos to be mechalek, and I don't have it by avodah zarah to be mechalek, then Rabbi Yochanan was right in throwing Rabbi Zakkai out of the base medrash. His why? Because he's saying you chayiv once. But again, if you don't, again, you chayiv once. 1 second. If you don't have a limud, if you 1 second. So if I have, so maybe there I can be machalik. Okay. So therefore, you don't have. He doesn't have a time to go according to, because Rabbi Yossi holds the lav, says you can be machalik. Let's see inside. Says the Gemara, Maskala Rabbi Yossi, Dilma ad kan loy kam Rabbi Yossi Hasam. Maybe Rabbi Yossi says over there by Shabbos, why you mechalek, is because it's waiting for the comment. Ad kan loy kam Rabbi Yossi Hasam havar lelav yatsa dinafik leichilik melachos me achas me hena. He learns it out, guys, from mei achas mei hena, the two extra mems and the extra word. The Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Omer, it says nefesh kisechta b'shkogu k'gol mitzvah Hashem Hashem sasena v'asa mei achas mei hena pamim shechayiv achas al kulon. Sometimes you chayiv once for being all over all of them. Pamim shechayiv al kol achas v'achas. Sometimes you chayiv in each and every one of them. From Rabbi Yonason, my time with Rabbi Yossi, he's explaining Rabbi Yossi. Dichsiv v'asa mei achas mei hena. Achas mei achas. And mehena and mehena achas. What does that mean? Achas shehena, behena sheachas. We'll explain in a second. Achas means what? You want to write Shimon. You want to write Shimon, right? You want to write Shimon. Mei achas is mixes Shimon. What's mixes Shimon? For example, you write Shem, the Shin Mem. So you be chayiv for achas from doing partially. Hena is the avos. Mehena from the avos is the toldos. These are the toldos. Achas shehena. What's so? Now let's explain. Achas shehena. That means what? One, and you be chayiv many times. Is Zod and Shabbos. The shiggas malachos. You know that what? That there's such a thing as Shabbos, and you shoyeg on each one on the malachos. You can be chayiv in each and every one of them, guys. You hear? You Zod and Shabbos. You know it's Shabbos, but you don't know that this malacha is asa. So each one is its own shame. I don't know you can be kaitzer. I don't know you can be mareach. I don't know you can go ahead and be ma'haitza. You be chayiv each and every one of them. So that's achas shehena. Hena she achas is shiga Shabbos. You don't know it's Shabbos. There's other malachas, but you know they're asa. In that case, you only be chayiv once. Aval hacha ba be'avodah zara v'lo nafka lechilik malachas miduch de'achrina. You don't have any other source. The kuli alma hishtachave lechalik yatsa. Everyone would say lishtachave is the mechalik and not to be as a lav. Outside, guys. Outside. I got this cold. If I got it, you got it. Good. If I got it, you got it. Says Rav Zakkai, if you go ahead, do 3 avodah zaros, you only chayiv once. You only chayiv once. Says Rabbi Yochanan, take it out of the base medrash. It doesn't belong here. Doesn't belong. Doesn't belong here. Says Rav Abba, what do you mean it doesn't belong here? By Shabbos we see Havara is lelav. It goes out lelav, and nonetheless what? And you mechalik. So maybe you know what? He has the same thing, lelav. It goes lelav. You know, it's what hishtachav is lelav, and therefore you don't have mechalik. Just like by Shabbos, if you guys learn by Shabbos lav, you're not mechalik. So too by avodah zarah, if you use hishtachav for lav, you can be mechalik, and therefore Rav Zakkai said you only chayiv once. Says Rav, that was Rav Abba's teretz. Comes along the Gemara now, Rabbi Yosef is going to go ahead and destroy that and say, 1 second. Do you know why Shabbos there's a lav? because I have another pasuk to teach me to mechalik. Rabbi Yossi says havara is lalav is because I have achas mehena to tell you mechalik. So therefore, that's why havara is lalav. If you didn't have achas mehena, then you would say that havara is lachalik. So by avodah zara that you do not have me'achas mehena, you only have ishtachaveh, it's not lalav, it's lachalik. Since it's lachalik, then therefore you should be chayav for each three, and thus Rabbi Yochanan told them to take it out of the base medrash. Not an easy cheshbon, guys. Not an easy cheshbon. Okay, I'll say it one more time. One more time. Again, what we have to end up with, guys, is the following: that these three that he made into one is gone. Right? That's why we need them out. Because Rabbi Yochanan said it's out of the base medrash. Rav Abba wants to bring it back to the base medrash. Why? Because by Shabbos we find we have a pasuk lalav, and nonetheless you have your mechalik, right? You have a lav and your mechalik. So the one who says same thing over here by avodah zarah you have a lav, and therefore will be mechalik. Let's bring it and therefore what? So we have a lav. And therefore, the one who says lelav, right? If you have, but just like over there, it works. Over here, it should work also. Said the Gemara that it doesn't work that way. The reason why havar is lelav is and mechalik because I have a pasuk in mechalik. By avodah zarah, I don't have a pasuk in mechalik. I just have a shtachaveh. I don't have achas mehena to mechalik. Memela, I only have the lelav. If I only have one pasuk, I'm not going to use the lelav. I'm going to use the mechalik. Since it's lechalik, it can't be what? It can't be Rav Abba. It can't be Rav Zakkai. Now the Gemara is going to ask, why can't I use Achas Mehena and learn Avodah Zarah? The same thing like Shabbos learn Mechalik. Because guys, it just says, it doesn't say Shabbos. Guys, this pasuk that says, Dabe el b'nei Yisrael leimar nefesh kisechta b'shkagam and kol mitzvahs Hashem, that's a pasuk that's speaking about a korban chatas. If you do many chayiv chatas, b'shoigeg. What happens if I do Avodah Zarah b'shoigeg? You bring a chatas. So just like Achas Mehena is speaking by Shabbos, Achas Mehena can be speaking about what? Avodah Zarah. And if it's speaking about Avodah Zarah, then you could be Mechalik, and therefore we should restore Rav Zakkai's din into the base medrash and not throw it out. Okay, says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Chilik malachos da avodas kechavan nami tepik me Achas Mehena. Achas zvicha. Achas will be shechting completely. May achas partially will be siman echad. You either sever the trachea or the esophagus. Hein is the avos. Zivuach is zivuach. For example, what are the avos? Zivuach bringing a carbon, kita burning incense. Nisuch v'shtachava. May heina is the toldvais. What would the toy would be? Shayva malka lefanel. You break a stick in front of it. We'll see that later on. You break a stick in front of it. Achashi heina is zadan avodas kechavim. You know avodah zarah is also the shigagos avodos, and you'll be chayiv for each and every one. Heina shi achas, what's that? Shigas avodas kechavim, yeshageg v'zadan avodos, you'll be chayiv only once. For the Gemara, hi shigas avodas chum hechidam. What exactly would the case be? Shigas avodas chum, you only be chayiv once. Ikasava basic knesses here. If you can see the basic knesses, rishtach v'loy harili l'shemayim. Ela dechaza dandarta. He saw an avodah, he saw an image of the king they would put up. Then Sagilay and he bent down to it. If he's Makabla, it's amazing. He like Kibla like Klumu, then it's nothing. So what's the shugas by Avodah Zarah? Ella must be Me'ava Me'ira. Hanich Labaya that you'll Avir Yechayev. Ella Ravadam Apatna Mayikla Neymar. Ella must be Maimamutta. So it must be speaking that what? That must be speaking where you thought it was Mutta. Again, this is the same dialogue we said before. It must be speaking what? Maimamutta. So then, if that's the case, Tifshit, we should be pushed the following Shaila. The boy Minei Rava Meir of Nachman, Helam Zevizeh, if you not only forgot its Shogeg, you also forgot the Malacha. In other words, you forgot its Shabbos, and you didn't know that you can't plant on Shabbos. Both. You chayiv once, you chayiv twice. So let's be pushed Tifshit, the Ein Chayiv El Achas. Since the case of Avodah Zarah is speaking Ba'im Mutta, and nonetheless, Yechayev, let's be poished the abaya that we weren't poished in the Sefta Shabbos, the Tzarech Loimar, right? And we weren't poished it. Now, we weren't poished it. if you weren't so oima mutta, you would be pushed it that way. And we weren't pushed it. Holoi kasha v'tivshait be pushed it. Now the Gemara now says that it's not possible to say that the pasuk me'achas mehena is speaking about the Zara, because as we saw in that parsha, each one brings a different carbon. The Kohen brings a par, Helen Dover brings a par, the Nasi brings a seir. They bring different karbanis, and it says achas mehena. And achas mehena by avoid Zara, they all bring the same carbon. They all bring the same one. Dilu hachak ksiv b'Mashiach par u'benasi seir. By Kohen Mashiach it says par. By Nasi it says seir. Ubiyachid by an individual it says kisba. Useira. Bilu b'avedis kechavim tanan v'shavim shebeseira kiyachid. V'sulay midi, and there's nothing to talk about. In other words, there's no way in the world that you can tell me that this pasuk achas mehein is speaking about avodah zara. And the Mela fellas, guys, let's summarize, guys. Obviously, they're all the same, but you're saying achas mehena, but achas mehena means power for the Mashiach, seya for the Nasi. So obviously, therefore, the achas mehena can't be avodah zara. If it's not speaking about the Vizara, you only have one pasuk. If you only have one pasuk, you're not going to use it to lav. You're going to use it to mechalik. If you're using it to mechalik, that's why Rabbi Yochanan threw out a base medrash, because Rabbi Zakkai said only one. Okay, the bottom line is Rabbi Yochanan held serve. At the end of the day, guys, avodah zara. If you do multiple avodah zara, you only chayiv once. You chayiv 3 times, not chayiv once, right? Because you don't have a pasuk lelav like you have by Shabbos. So Shabbos you have the limit of achas mehena, which you don't have by avodah zara. You don't have achas mehena by avodah zara. Sulay midi means there's garnish to red. There's nothing else to say. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else. It's finished. Finito. There's nothing else to talk about. Okay. Now we're gonna have a similar Gemara, but a little easier. Kiyasir of Shmuel bar Yehuda, Amar Hachi. Hachi Teran Kamed. This is what Rav Zakkai said in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Choyme b'Shabbos mishar mitzvahs. Shabbos is mochama than other mitzvahs. Choyme mishar mitzvahs b'Shabbos. There's a chumras of other mitzvahs as over Shabbos. Choyme b'Shabbos. What's the chumra of Shabbos? Choyme b'Shabbos. Shabbos asa shtayim behelam echad. If you do 2 malachas of Shabbos in one forgetfulness, chayiv kol achas v'achas, you can be chayiv in each and every one. Mashen came b'sham mitzvahs. Choyme b'sham mitzvahs of Shabbos over Shabbos. Sheb'sham mitzvahs shogeg b'la miskaven. If you shogeg without miskaven, Rashi says, guys, misasig. Misasig means I didn't want to have in mind to do this at all. You misasig. So choyme b'shar mitzvah shogeg b'la miskaven chayiv. Mashen came b'Shabbos, you be pata. Okay, that's what Rav Zakkai said in front of Rabbi Yochanan. So now going back over the Brisa. Amar, going back over the Brisa. Choyme b'Shabbos, what's the chumra that Shabbos has over? That if you do shtayim behelam echad, you can be chayiv in each and every one. Hechi dami. Ilay me'da'avid kitzira utchina. If you're going to tell me it's speaking where kitzira you harvested, utchina and you ground, the kavase gabe shar mitzvahs, what would be the parallel of shar mitzvahs that you only chayiv once? The achal chelev v'dam, you ate chelev. In addition, you ate dam. Hachatarti mechayiv, hachatarti mechayiv. You'll be chayiv only once by shar mitzvahs, sellers. You'll be chayiv twice. If that's the case, you'll be chayiv twice. Again, you're doing 2 things. Ella gabi shar mitzvahs, dein chayiv ela achas hechi dami. Must be the achal chelev v'chelev. You did the same avera in one halama. Now, what would the parallel be by Shabbos? The kabasi gabi Shabbos, David kitzira v'chitzira, that you did in one halama. You did the same av malacha. Says the hacha chad mechayiv, v'hacha chad mechayiv. V'hainu da'amalei, and that's what Rabbi Yochanan told Rabbi Zakkai, poik tani lebra, go take it outside. Okay, so what do we say, guys? Watch. We have a rule. By the chumrah that Shabbos has over shar mitzvahs, Shabbos, if you 2 things ba'alama achas, you can be chayiv twice. Mashenkin over there, if you 2 things, you be chayiv once. The Gemara wants to know the following. If the 2 things by Shabbos are 2 separate malachas, that means the 2 things by shar mitzvahs are 2 separate averis, like dam and chelev. You be chayiv twice there also, not once. So that formula doesn't fit in. So let's do the inverse. Okay, so it must be over here. Why are you chayiv once by shar mitzvahs? Because you ate chelev and ate chelev. Then what Shabbos be? You cut. It's the same thing. So Mamela, I need 2-1. All I have is 1-1 or 2-2. I don't have either one. Therefore, said Rabbi Yochanan in terms of Kai, you have to take it out. It's not. It doesn't hold water. Okay. So the first one was a little more lomdis. Second over here, it's a little easier for a second. Anyway, my kushya. What was Rabbi Yochanan's kasha that he wanted this out of the base medrash? What was Rabbi Yochanan's kasha that he wanted this out of the base medrash? He taka did too. What did he do? He cut and he ground. Masha'en came b'shar mitzvahs. What could that be? Asan la'avodas kechavim kid Ravami. Dam Ravami siveach v'kiter v'nisach behelam echad and echayiv el achas. So this is what we had in the name of Rav Zakkai. Now we have in the name of Ravami. So, I have a way of establishing and keeping the brisa in the base medrash. Guys, look. On Shabbos, I did 2 separate malachat avos. I ground and I cut. Chayiv twice. By Shar mitzvahs, and we're going to say it's avodah zara, I did 2 separate actions. What did I do? I brought a carbon and I burnt incense. Says Ravami, only chayiv once. Hey, I just worked it out, guys. I needed a 2-1, correct? I got it. Why did you take it out of the base medrash? All I need is a 2-1. You took it out because it was either 2-2 or a 1-1, right? Watch. Shabbos is 2 separate things. I was kaitzer and I was the teichen. Good, 2. By avodah zara, I was makdir. I was manasek, 2. But you only chayiv once, like Ravami. So therefore, I don't have to go ahead and throw the price out of the base medrash. It works. As I afraid the Gemara. Says the Gemara, it doesn't work. You can't say that the Shar Mitzvahs is speaking about Avodah Zarah. You can't say that Shar Mitzvahs is speaking about Avodah Zarah. The Tani Seifa, Chayim b'Shar Mitzvahs, Sheb'Shar Mitzvahs shogeg b'loy miskavein, Chayiv. Shar Mitzvahs, if you misasek, you Chayiv. Shogeg b'loy miskavein b'Avodah Kechavim, hechidami. In other words, so guys, what was the Seifa? Misasek by Shar Mitzvahs is Chayiv, by Shabbos is Pata. So we're going to prove that misasek cannot be by Avodah Zarah. Says the Gemara. If you thought it was a shul, Ella must be the chazay and darta b'sagidlei. You thought it was this image of a king, and you bow down to it. Third time we're having this. If you makabel it as a god, then mezidhu. If you like kibel lav klumi, then it's nothing. Ella must be mi'ava miyira. Hanichel abaya says shechayiv damachayv ella rav damapata ma'ikol neima ella by mamuta. Mashenki b'Shabbos the pata legamri. Ad kan loy mi boy minei rav amirav nachman helam zev is that if you want you know with Shabbos and you didn't know the malach was asa ella lechuy v'chadoy lechuy tarti 1 or twice pata legamri lekol neima. No one's going to say that what you pata legamri. Okay, so pata legamri lekamanda amar. My kusha. So in other words, it doesn't work out. You wanted to say miskavein b'shogeg. No, because we don't know misasek yet. You have a little heads up. If you're talking about it's b'shogeg, Shabbos shouldn't be pata completely. You should be chayiv at least once. And the Brisa says you pata completely. So therefore, loy metukma, it doesn't work out. It says my kusha. The ratio that says the shogeg miskavein is speaking about avodah zarah. The sefer b'sham mitzvahs. And the shogeg blay miskaven, kasavar roiku. He thought it was spittle, ubaleya, and he swallowed it. So that's misasek. Mashen came b'Shabbos the pata. Sheniskaven like bia satola. His kavan is to pick up something that is disconnected. The chatakas and mechuber, and he picks up some and he cuts then pata. Uchid Rav Nachman Amashmul. Dama hamasasek b'chalavim ba'royos. Someone's misasek b'chalavim. He doesn't know he's been misasek with royos. Chayiv. Why? Even though he's misasek, he wasn't miskaving for it. Shekeineni yet I know. However, misasek b'Shabbos is pata. Why? Meleches machshavas asrut. That's in the speaking by Zara and the sefer by Shabbos time of sefer b'chataima. He wants to be consistent. right? Rabbi Yochanan, man metargim lichavias saliba gemara in I think in the Mitzia. One could be metargim the halacha of chavias according to one Tana, muvlina mane basrei lebe mesusa. I'll go ahead and fold over his baggage into the carry. I think he'll carry his towels to the bathhouse. In other words, I'll be mishamashim. But you see that he wants to be consistent, and over here you're not being consistent. He's saying two different timing. It doesn't work, and therefore he threw out a base measure. So we had two distinct. Let's go over the first one again. I think we spent a lot of time in it. Let's get a little finality that I think everyone should understand it. Rav Zakkai said, by avodah zara, if you're over on 3 different avodah zaras, you're going to be chayiv once. Rabbi Yochanan threw out of the base medrash. The Gemara want to know why is it different than Shabbos. L'chorah by Shabbos we have lo sevaru eish b'chol moshe v'sheichem, that's a lav, and we have machalik. So by avodah zara also you have a lav ishtachaveh, and therefore you can be machalik. So you can be machalik. That l'chorah, what's wrong? In other words, and that was if that gufa was Rabbi Yossi's din, and the answer was that well, if you use it lav, you don't have to be machalik. You don't. If you use it for a lav, then you can't be machalik. In other words, since the shtachva is being used for a lav, it can't be machalik, and therefore what? And therefore, Rabbi Yochanan threw out the base medrash. Read the Gemara 1 second. The reason why do you have to throw out the base medrash? In other words, I could go ahead and say I can go ahead. I don't have to throw it out of the base medrash. I could go ahead and say that no, I said it right the first time. That since it's lalav, and that's lalav, so the one who has lalav doesn't have to be machalik, and therefore Rav Zakkai said you only chayiv once because you didn't have to be machalik. Good. Said the Gemara. 1 second. The reason why Shabbos is a lav is because you have another pasuk in machalik. But by avodah zara, if you don't have a pasuk in machalik, everyone's going to hold it's the lav, and therefore you can't be machalik, and therefore Reb Zakkai would not be correct. What's the pasuk by avodah zara by Shabbos? Achas mehena. So if I have the achas mehena to learn the machalik, then I have the leisivaru eish to go for a lav. Masha enkein, if you don't have a pasuk by avodah zara, all you have is the lav. You're zicha going to go ahead and use it to machalik and not for a lav. You're going to use it to machalik and not for a lav. Good. Says the Gemara, let's use achas mehena for avodah zara too. So if I have that for machalik, then I can use this for a lav, and then we can restore it to the base medrash. The Gemara proved that you can't go ahead and use that as you can't use the achas mehena for avodah zara. Therefore, since you can't use it for avodah zara, his shtachva can't be for a lav. It must be machalik. Since it's machalik, therefore Rabbi Yochanan took Rabbi Zakkai's din that you chayiv once, and he said, leave it the base medrash. I need it to be machalik and not lelav.